Hi guys, welcome to Robin Hood Diaries tonight. I'm so glad you could join me. You know that, how I adore your company, you know, disconnected as it is. So I preview tonight something to the effect of being scared that my dad would be ready for a fight at any time. Really quick background on this, okay? My dad was an exhibition fighter in Korea and went on to do some boxing, and he became a 4-time Golden Glove champion. He also knew wrestling. He was, when he was young, he would go to carnivals and volunteer to take on all comers, which means any moron that wanted to jump in the ring with him, and they were because they didn't know my dad, could go in and try and wrestle and box and fight him, and he creamed all of them. He had a rage inside. He was very pretty, but there was a rage in there that was an unliving or unliver, rage. He actually taught me some boxing when I was very young, unsuccessfully. I do remember, though, he always said, side stance always, you don't get a gut punch, and grab an apple, pick it back, grab an apple, pick it back in terms of the fighting. He would also try, in addition to, teach me that, he would give me like tricks. He was always worried about my safety, but not with him. To him, like I said, he didn't welcome it. No, he didn't look for it, but he welcomed it. One of the things, like I said, he would insist that I carry a magazine, when I was not with him. And if you roll, apparently, a magazine really tight, the butt end of the magazine, it can be as strong as a baton. And he would say, just try your best to get the back end of the magazine as hard as you could into the Adam's apple. I'm sure that did some damage. Okay, so growing up, I knew these stories. He would tell me, like, laughingly, how he chased 8 guys down the beach one day because they thought they could screw with him. Big mistake. Some, masculine lady cracked a bottle over his head in a bar, but my dad wouldn't mess with women. And again, he would take these things in stride. This sort of, I don't want to say violent part, to him was very amusing because he knew that no one could beat him. So there was this guy I grew up with that was a very close friend of my dad's named Vic. And what was his last name? Vic? Anyway, it's driving me crazy now. So he was a very old friend. I knew him all in, teenage years. But he was a very old friend of my father's. And again, he and my dad had this jovial kind of thing about beating people up. I don't know. No offense, YouTube, there's no violence here. It was all recreational. So Vic used to love to bring these, not shady characters, but very rough characters to my dad's apartment at the time. He had 3 apartments on the street that I lived with my mother, my house, which is weird, all within a block, bizarre, different periods of time. So Vic would bring these guys over, and my dad would tie one arm behind his back and fight them with one arm. And again, he would cream them. So the ring taking, hold my ring part. Okay, so the first memory of that is we were in the supermarket bringing our food in the cart. And the car next to us, you know how you let a little bump, you don't dent, but the cart has it's not damage. But he heard this guy, and sitting in his car, heard this bump, and idiot, leapt out of the car and started ranting and raving, not necessarily directly at my dad right away, but the damn whatever. So my dad had quite enough. And he went up to the guy and he took his glasses off of his face and dropped them and smashed them. And then kind of looked at him. The guy, I have never seen anyone bolt so fast. I mean, he flew. I mean, the way he flew into the driver's seat was like out of, a comic book. So that was number 1, the ring holding and watch out and whatever. There was a lumberjack kind of guy who was the boyfriend of some girl that my dad had tryst with, who was, of course, raging, came to him, and again, rings off, and he, again, creamed this, lumberjack guy. but he knew boxing perfectly, and he knew wrestling perfectly. So he could just sort of crawl around these bigger guys. Well, my dad was almost 6 foot. So anyway, so that was another time. I don't know. I mean, there was. See, the thing is I grew up with all these stories over and over and over again, and I knew growing up that there was a sense of safety with my dad that was unparalleled. I don't know this feeling with other people and their parents or caregivers or people in their lives, uncles, aunts, whatever, had this feeling of complete safety with my dad, because you knew that he would pulverize anybody. He had such rage, but he was so amused that people would try and challenge him. So it was this really weird vibe that took over him, like this taunting, menacing thing, but mixed with smirks, like bring it on.